Congressman, welcome to the program here.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Polls show anywhere from third place to statistical tie. Where do you think you realistically are right now in this competitive and combative race?
Well, I think realistically now, I think I must be in second place or close to first place, because just in the last couple of weeks, both of my opponents are spending about $3 million hitting me across statewide. And so I feel like if I were in third place, like some polls might suggest, they wouldn't be spending this kind of money. And as a former Apache helicopter pilot, as a West Point grad, as a guy that flew 55 combat missions in Baghdad, here's what I realized. I am right over the target zone and doing exactly what I need to do. I am the only candidate that's actually running a campaign. I'm the only one that's actually traveling around Texas and actually answering the questions of the people on the ground, and clearly it's working because they wouldn't be spending millions of dollars hitting me.
What does internal polling show right now?
It shows us strongly in second place, which again, that would corroborate the idea of us being hit. And then there were two polls that came out. It was a signal poll that came out that had me in second place. This is just about 6 or 7 days ago. And there was another poll that came out that also had me in second place. And so what I like to see is this. When I first got this race, this was supposed to be a vanity project, is what leadership said in SLF and the NRSC. And John Cornyn said that nobody knows who I am and that there's no way that Wesley Hunt has a shot at this. And then we started taking our message directly to the Texans, and now they're spending money against me, and I'm ecstatic about that because it means that we're heading in the right direction, and we're going to continue to travel all over the state for the next 2 weeks to get the job done.
The last public poll out from the University of Houston Hobby School Public Affairs showed you third place. Do you take any credence in that poll, and is your internal polling showing something different?
What's really interesting about that poll as well is that's the exact same poll that also did general election ballot testing, and I am polling ahead of Ken and John against James Tallarico or Jasmine Crockett in that exact same poll, which tells me that that was a public poll that was done for the general election, not for the primary. And there's also a reason why John Cornyn has spent over $80 million in this race and is polling in the 20s. And we know he's polling in the 20s. That's why he's continuing to spend this much money. And at some point, it becomes the law of diminishing returns. And the people here in Texas do not want D.C. to buy their next senator. We are well aware of what's going on, and we need to bring more Texas to D.C., not the other way around. He's been around for long enough. 24 years is actually too long. I am also somebody that's running on term limits. I'm going to do 2 terms, 12 years, and that's long enough. That's what our founding fathers wanted it to be. And at the end of the day, it's time for people to go to D.C., make some good laws, and then return back home. That ensures that you make good laws because you have to live with the laws that you make. When you're around D.C. for 10, 20, 30, 40 years, you don't care about the laws that you make. You actually lose touch with the everyday Texan, as John Cornyn has done, and that's why we're in this position right now.
I've talked to you before, and I've heard you on TV and in other interviews attack Senator Cornyn a lot. I haven't heard you say as much about Ken Paxton. Why shouldn't Republican primary voters vote for Ken Paxton?
Well, the thing is I'm not going for Ken Paxton's job. I don't want to be the Attorney General. I want to be the next senator from Texas, and currently that person is John Cornyn, and that's exactly what I am trying to articulate to the people. And I'm not going to go after ad hominem attacks or personal attacks or go after people's personal lives. I want to talk about policy. I want to talk about how you co-authored gun control legislation. I want to talk about how you co-authored a bill that allowed 50,000 Afghans to enter this country without being properly vetted. I want to talk about how I was the first person in the country to endorse President Trump on this last cycle, and he didn't endorse him until over a year later. I want to talk about how he is one of 2 Republican incumbents that still has not been endorsed by President Trump, in spite of him asking President Trump numerous times. I want to talk about the actual issues. What I heard from a young lady as I've been on the trail and comparing me and General Paxton was this. They said, look, we know Ken's a true conservative. We know you are a real conservative, given your voting record, being one of the most conservative in all of Texas. But he said in a couple of years, Ken Paxton is going to require Social Security. And then after 6 years, 1 term, we're going to be having the exact same conversation that we're having about John Cornyn right now. And if you didn't exist, I would choose Ken. But because you do, I want to choose the young conservative option for the future. There's a reason why our vice president is 41 years old. There's a reason why our secretary of state is in his early 50s. There's a reason why our secretary of war is in his mid 40s. I think it's time to turn the page on career politicians. And that's exactly what Ken and John are.
Congressman, the voters walk into a polling place this week here, early voting underway. What's the one thing you want Republican primary voters to know about Wesley Hunt?
I'm somebody that's want to die for this country. I'm somebody that served this country in combat. Somebody that loves this country dearly, and I have skin in the game because I have 3 young babies that I got to look at every single day and tell them that I want to leave this place better than I found it. There are a lot of lies that are being told and are being spread about me, but thank God I'm somebody that served in combat because I can take it and I can deal with it, and we will continue to forge ahead. I'm somebody that wants to take Texas values to D.C., and I will never forget who I work for, and I will never forget what I represent. And I am the only one in this race that raised his hand to defend this country against all enemies, both foreign and domestic. Neither Ken or John can say that they're willing to bleed for this country.
3 weeks from Election Day, though, it's a competitive race. 3 people in this, 3 conservatives in this race. Real conservatives
Well,
here.
2, but yeah.
Well, three
Just kidding.
people on the
Three
ballot. 3
Republicans.
people on the ballot here too. Let me ask you this: what does a victory look like come March 3rd, though? What does victory look like as far as you're concerned?
Victory for me looks like I've already won because I followed my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ to take on this endeavor. And no matter how it ends, it's going to end the way He wants it to end. And I listened. He ordered my steps in His word. And I'm going to be satisfied with whatever the outcome because I did the right thing to give the people of Texas a true conservative option. And I am very, very pleased with that. And no matter what the outcome is, I'm a believer in Christ, so I always win.
We started the interview talking about how much spending there is against you right now. I think $3 million in attack ads against you right now. And some of those ads, especially from Senator Cornyn, really focus on you missing votes in Washington, D.C.
Yeah.
Is the campaign for Senate taking your attention away from your responsibilities in the House?
Absolutely not. Anytime.
Well, how do you justify those?
It's a great question. Anytime the president or the Speaker of the House has needed my vote on a consequential vote, I was there. I got on the plane, canceled my events, and I got up there and I got there immediately. How many votes did J.D. Vance miss when he was tapped to be the VP for President Trump? All of them. And do you know why? Because you can't be in 2 places at one time. And the people of Texas want to term limit John Cornyn. And in order to do that, I have to travel around and be in as many counties and as many media markets as possible so they could hear my message that I want to take the Texans to be their next senator. Do you know how many times I've been asked about this when I'm talking to people in small groups across the state of Texas? Never. You know what they don't want? They don't want a senator that's going to co-author gun control legislation. And if it means that I'm missing some votes in order to continue to ensure that that doesn't happen again in Texas, I think they're okay with it.
Another line of attack that people are seeing on TV, especially from Senator Cornyn, is going after your conservative credentials, saying that you backed President Obama and that you supported him when he was running. Do you regret those positions now?
First of all, that's a lie. I never voted for Barack Obama. I participated in Operation Chaos. I voted for Hillary Clinton in 2008, like thousands of brave patriots. And also, at the end of the day, they are conflating the idea of me voting for Hillary Clinton against President Trump in 2016. I can assure you that I voted for President Trump in 2016, and I have the proof. I also voted for President Trump in 2020 when he endorsed me in 2020 when I ran for Congress. And then in 2024, I was the first person in the country to endorse President Trump. And the reason why John Cornyn is in this position is because he's trying to call me a rhino, but at the end of the day, it's just self-reflection. Everyone knows that he is, and that's why he has spent $80 million and again is polling in the 20s. You should not be a 24-year incumbent in this embattled in a Republican primary.
Interesting point. The 2016 ballot, was that a provisional ballot that was rejected, though?
It was
It
was a provisional ballot that I cast for President Trump that ultimately was. But here's what I want people to know.
Yeah.
I voted for President Trump. I cast a ballot for President Trump. It was my first year living in Houston, Texas, after leaving the military and then going to graduate school. And I went to the booth to go cast a vote for President Trump. And it is a lie to say that I didn't. And like I said, we have the proof.
Biggest misconception voters have about you right now, what do you think that is? Because they're seeing a lot of attack ads against you.
Well, I think the biggest misconception is that the people are going to see right through it, and they already are. Anytime you have a guy like John Cornyn, who clearly has been discredited amongst the Republican primary voter, going after a young combat veteran who was the first person in the country to endorse President Trump, who was one of his top surrogates, actually, over the course of the past year, which is another reason why I missed some votes. You see, when the president asks you to go to Allentown, Pennsylvania, and give a speech on his behalf, you get up and you do it as long as you're not missing a consequential presidential vote. And the biggest misconception that people might have is this: I have one of the most conservative voting records in all of Texas. My Liberty score is in the high 90s, and John Cornyn's Liberty score is 54%. And that's why he is unacceptable to be the next senator from Texas.
A couple of questions about news of the day here, too. I want to ask you about the social media post from President Trump that depicted President Obama and the First Lady as monkeys. Did you find that racist at all?
Actually, I watched the entire video, and if you watch the entire video, it was depicting many Democrats in the vein of Lion King, and the fact that they were just going to take one snippet of that and then try to paint a brush and say that all of a sudden President Trump is a racist guy, I think is ridiculous. I think people stopped listening to legacy media a long time ago and stopped trusting that fact. Here's what I know: the president has invited me to travel with him multiple times. He's been nothing but kind to my family. He's been nothing but good to me. He has been nothing but kind to my wife, and even on one campaign stop, stopped in my wife's hometown of Maquoketa, Iowa. Does that sound like somebody who's racist? And last I checked, I've been black for my entire life. What I do is I take how people treat me personally, and I don't really care what people say about them online. I know President Trump, and he's been very good to me.
One of your colleagues, Tim Scott, said he found it racist, though. Are you surprised at that?
I mean, I thank God that Tim Scott can speak for himself. I have absolutely nothing to say about that. He's a grown man, can speak for himself. He's wrong. And I think we all know that he's wrong at this point. And look, either you believe the president is racist or you believe that he is not. I don't believe he's not. I know he's not.
Two last questions here. The Epstein files. The DOJ has released a little more than half the files. Many Americans, including a lot of Republicans, say, where's the rest of it? Where do you stand on this issue?
I'll release all the files. I have nothing against that. In fact, if you recall, we actually voted on this in the House of Representatives, and everybody thought that President Trump wasn't going to allow it to happen, and voila, he did. And I think what has to happen, though, is that we also have to be careful to protect the victims that are in there as well. So we have to be careful with information flow and the dissemination of information, because that's actually what we're dealing with Senator Cornyn's team, who actually released my personal information on Twitter. This is or on X. This is the kind of issues that we have to be cognizant for and be aware of. Look, the people want to hear the truth, but we also have to protect the victims that are in there as well.
And Congressman, the last thing I want to ask you about is the partial government shutdown at the Department of Homeland Security. Yeah. Do you see any movement at all for Republicans to get a deal done to start paying TSA, Secret Service, et cetera?
A deal's going to get done. I'm very
How long
confident.
will that take? Any idea?
Well, that's up to the Senate, and this is why I'm actually running for Senate, because I want to make sure that we keep the government open.
Congressman, good to see you. Thanks for the time.
Of course. God bless you. Thank you for having me, sir, as always.